The girl stumbled out of the shadowy old pickup truck, her knees scraping the dirt and her voice trembling as she screamed, "Just kill me now." The wind blew off the highway as more motorcycles came in, with the tallest one standing tall and wearing black leather vests. Her boots were on the ground and the engine had been turned off. She was being killed when the wind picked up and finally stopped. As if he sensed something that nobody else could see, he grabbed her shivering hands and pulled the torn flannel aside beneath the bruises and dust. They saw the mark burned into her skin. Every biker froze. The air was clear. I sensed that even the wind had ceased to blow. So if you think that life can be saved by being kind, and that second chances are valuable, please feel free to share this video and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your contribution will help us share stories that remind us that humanity is not over. Rain Whitlock was the first person to call me that. For 3 nights she had been slumbering, hiding behind dumpsters, feeding on waste, with the sole goal of being away from a place she once called home. The men she trusted the most had labeled her as property, pressing hot metal into her side as she yelled for help, but nothing could stop them. His signature was treacherous. She thought she would die there. Despite the difficulty of escaping, she still managed to run and stood before a group of unidentified bikers, leaving her with no remaining energy to continue. Hawk Grayson, the leader of the Iron Shepherds, had a history of encountering lost companions. His group wasn't the type of people who were approached lightly. Nevertheless, Rain's eyes, which were half frozen in fear and half begging to be hidden, struck him hard. When his glove brushed over the branded scar, he remembered the same small sibling in his absence, who had been burned into his body. He remained silent. None of them spoke, and the silence was too much to ask. After that, Hawk took off his jacket and draped it over Rain's shoulders. The rest of the team looked at each other without speaking, realizing that this wasn't just another lost luggage. They took her to their hideout, an old gas station that also doubled as a repair center, and Rain was quiet about the location. Her body sank in fear and exhaustion, leaving her too hopeless to hold on. When they handed her water, patched her wounds, and gave her space, they couldn't help but experience something strange. As she sat by the flickering light of a fire pit that night, Hawk finally spoke. His voice was calm, grinning, but with an odd tinge. "Who's that guy?" he asked. She paused, eyes fixed on the fire, and then whispered a name she hadn't spoken out loud for years. Mason Varick, the head of the Vulture's MC, an organization that was notorious for branding women as part of their profession, led the cold conversation. Once allies were betrayed, the road between them was cut short. Hawk's jaw cleaved, his fist swayed against his knee, and Rain had a scar on his body. The mark was more than just an issue. Over the next few days, Rain made several attempts to leave, but Hawk spoke truth to her every time she stopped her. He warned that if she walked alone, she would be pursued once more. Nevertheless, he believes that you can still stop running. Despite the passage of time, her walls slowly began to break down. She talked about her childhood, how her dreams had been ruined, and the idea that maybe she wasn't alive anymore. One night, she stood in front of the mirror, examining the smooching look without any guilt. The anger she felt was not the type that causes destruction, but the one that elicits a cry of fight back from those close by. When she saw the fire in her eyes, he nodded and said, "Okay, that's great." The Iron Shepherd sped down the deserted highway, with the engines running low and the lights dimming. Hawk's hands gripping his vest like a lifeline, and they were going to demonstrate to Mason that losing control wasn't the end of their plans. The altercation at the old mill was swift and brutal. The vultures were unexpected. Mason's bewildered expression paled in comparison to the moment he saw Rain standing behind the Iron Shepherds, alive and well, and looking straight at him. Hawk didn't have to say anything. The message was clear. The girl you attempted to kill is now a member of the family, and they ride for her. By dawn, it was over. Rain didn't seem to watch over Mason's situation. It was the first time in years that she felt the warmth of the sun on her face. She then rode back to the gas station, where she remained silent. When they came to a halt, she got off the bike, looked up, and said simply, "Thank you for not letting me go." He nodded and proceeded to smile. "You're with me again," he said. She had found strength somewhere between pain and kindness. If you have a belief in healing, courage, and the power of kindness, please share this video and subscribe to Kindness Corner. We need more stories like this to share our stories and demonstrate that empathy can be redeemed. Before you continue scrolling, let me know what words you've used to express your sentiments. Thank you for your support. Can you share your heart with us? Was it a message of hope, pain, or faith?